Good evening and welcome to Let's Talk Sport with myself, Jamie Davis. And tonight we are going to be previewing the biggest Women's Super League game of the season so far, taking place tomorrow night at Leeds Sports Village. And that is Manchester United women versus Chelsea women, the top two in the Women's Super League right now. And as you'd expect, and as it has been for the last, has it been 7 years they've won it now? Chelsea are at the top of the WSL tree. But it feels like this is the first game of the season that really could be seen as a title challenger. Sorry, my camera's a little blurry. Let me just put my hand at the front there. Oh, it does this when I go live sometimes. It's very annoying. There we go. Sorry about that. But yes, so anyway, we are going to be talking about the big game tomorrow night between the two heavyweights of the WSL so far. So, both teams have one thing in common. They haven't lost a single league game yet. The only difference is Chelsea have won all their games, while Man United made at least one slip-up, which was a draw at home as well to Arsenal, which I think for some of us, we expected Arsenal to be WSL contenders, especially with the fact that they won the Women's Champions League at the end of last season. But they don't seem to be converting that to the Women's Super League as of yet to this season. But of course, it's very early on. But I don't know about you lot at home, but this feels like a very important game for Man United. Mainly because if they lose all 3 points here and concede defeat to Chelsea tomorrow night, it really does feel like there's already going to be a gap growing for Chelsea in their bid to win another successive Women's Super League title under the management of Sonia, who has been, well, it's almost as if Emma Hayes being replaced by Sonia has not. It felt like they've just continued as they left on with Emma Hayes, which is just frustrating for football fans outside of Chelsea. I myself, I'm a United fan, so yes, I'm not going to lie, I'm going to be a little biased probably tonight with this preview, but it is frustrating that Chelsea, no matter who their manager is, it just seems that the club will do well regardless, especially with the right players. But if we actually look at the table. Let me just get the screen up for you. As you can see, this is on the WSL website, and Chelsea, of course, as I say, only 4 games have been played by everyone apart from what seems to be Aston Villa and Liverpool, because they had to abandon that match because sadly of what happened with the death of Matt Beard. But Chelsea are currently 2 points ahead, 4 wins out of 4. Man United 3 wins out of 4 with a draw. But the goal difference does lay better for Man United. They lead by 2 with 10, while Chelsea have 8. That's because Phyllis Joyce, who has been a tremendous goalkeeper for Man United, a fantastic Mary Earps replacement, may I say. This is her second season. She's only conceded once so far. So it just shows what a goalkeeper and a replacement she has been for Marc Skinner. But for Chelsea, they've conceded a little bit more, only 1 goal extra. So that is what it looks like at the moment. Man City, I'm sure, will be interested in how this match goes on. They probably wouldn't mind both teams drawing, so that if they can win over the weekend, they can get themselves closer to the top of the table. Tottenham in 4th, Arsenal in 5th. And look at that, Arsenal only getting 2 wins so far and 2 draws. They haven't lost yet, but they are already starting to slip up, despite how well they did in Europe last year. And at the moment, rock bottom is West Ham United. 4 games, 4 defeats, and a minus 12 goal difference already. And they did get battered by Chelsea, one of our teams we're talking about tonight. But yes, it does seem as though, I mean, if we look at the history of Manchester United and Chelsea as well, as you can see on the thumbnail of this, United need to win. It's as simple as that. And I think even if they get a draw at home, I don't think it's the worst result, but I think Marc Skinner knows if his team can actually go and compete for the WSL title this season, they have to win their home games. They slipped up against Arsenal at home the other week. A draw's better than a defeat, but they know that they have to take these 3 points, at least from the Leeds Sports Village, where they play pretty much most of their home games. And it's a long season for them. Women's Champions League, they've never qualified for the league phase before. I know the league phase is new to the Women's Champions League, but they didn't even promote themselves up to the group stages in the last few years. I know they were in the qualifiers a couple of years ago. Sadly, I went all the way to Paris to see them lose to PSG, which of course would eventually be Mary Earps's future club, and also when Jackie Gronnen had moved there already, my favourite footballer when it comes to women's football. I certainly do miss Jackie Gronnen at Man United. I'm not going to lie, but yes, for United this season, I think they do have it very challenging under Marc Skinner. To go for the title and to even compete in Europe is going to be a hell of an experience for them. Can they last all season? That's the debate going on at the moment. There's actually been an interesting article today on goal.com, which is pretty much about United's depth and how it could really ruin their season. And they're starting to get injuries. Back in their result against Liverpool, if you actually look here, look at this. They only had 5 players available on the bench. They used 4 out of the 5 from their away win at Liverpool last week, which they won 2-0 thanks to goals from Maya Zara and Ella Toon. But if you look at that starting lineup, it's a strong lineup. But when you look at the bench options that Marc Skinner had, it's quite weak. It's not exactly. I mean, do you see any players there apart from maybe Rachel Williams that are inspiring moves when you need a late goal and you need to maybe get an equaliser or get a winning goal late on in a match? It just feels like, I mean, look at that. They've got 4 less players than what Liverpool had. And Liverpool are a team struggling at the bottom at the moment under the management of ex-Man City manager Gareth Taylor. But we'll see what happens, what the lineup will be tomorrow night. But that is probably going to be similar tomorrow against Chelsea, especially Turland up front. She's been a good signing. Millard is the top goal scorer who normally plays out on the left wing. She's got 4 goals in 4 games so far. Ella Toon, Jess Parker, new signing as well. Maya Zara, of course, it's good to see her scoring. I remember when they signed her a couple of years ago, she had a tremendous Women's World Cup, and I think because of that, that's what probably got her the signature and the move to Old Trafford. But I feel like Maya Zara, we haven't seen the best out of her yet, and it feels like maybe this is the season where she starts to jump out of the egg and actually get herself going in a United shirt. But of course, the most, and I keep saying this, and the most impressive goalkeeper so far in this league has got to be Talise Joyce. And my word, they certainly will need her to be at her best tomorrow night at Leigh Sports Village. But going back to the article, and as you can see here, Marc Skinner, they do mention in the article about how they let go of Grace Clinton to bring in Jess Park, which was an interesting swap with Manchester City. But sadly, that didn't help with the depth. It just meant 1 in, 1 out. And sadly, Grace Clinton did come out with a statement to say that her and the club were not on the same page. And I think that, of course, is the main reason as to why she left earlier this year. And it is a problem for Man United. And when you read this article, it's on goal.com. You know, Marc Skinner has put his hands up and gone, look, it's out of my control. I have tried to basically go up to the club board and say we need more players to compete this season, not because of just the Women's Super League, but to be able to play in 6 European games at least, which 3 of them are at home, 3 of them are away. That's between now and I think it's December it finishes, just before Christmas. So there's a lot of games for United to play. Not much rest really between now and the end of the calendar year, you could say. Luckily for Skinner, the WSL has a Christmas break, a winter break you could call it as well. But I think they'll be delighted to have that when it comes. Will they get out the league phase though and get themselves into the knockout stages of the Champions League? We'll find out, I'm sure. It will be tough for them, especially having to play against PSG, Lyon as well, one of the successful clubs in women's football, especially when you count how many Champions Leagues they've got. I don't even know how many they've got. I can't remember. I've lost count. They've won that many. And let's not forget as well, they've got to go to Juventus away. They've got to go play away at Wolfsburg as well. Wolfsburg being one of the main foundations of women's European football as well, not so long ago. So it's going to be a very, very big challenge for Manchester United. But they are, well, I think it was, I'm just trying to remember the name of the ex-Villa and Birmingham manager also came up about it. I'm trying to remember her name now. It's in this article somewhere. Let me find it. Is it Carla Ward? I've forgotten her name. I'm terrible. I think they've edited this article and changed it up a bit since I read it earlier today. But basically, she's come out and it looks like she's backing Marc Skinner, and has actually said that Skinner has probably not brought his whole squad to that away game at Liverpool last weekend to kind of send a message to the board and try and prove that, I should have had more players this summer, but it wasn't provided. Tricky one. And especially when you compare the women's team to the men's team. The men's team, well, they made a lot of signings in terms of they brought a completely new front three for Ruben Amorim, yet it's the men's team that are failing. The women's team are doing all right. It's the men's team that aren't succeeding with these big signings that they're making at the moment. So, but yeah, there's some quote for you. Man United have let the women's team down. But this is what it said. They had just 5 players on their bench. One of whom was a goalkeeper. And it wasn't a one-off either. Through the early weeks of the new season, United's list of substitutes has been bereft of experience, with there only one occasion on which they've been able to name more than 4 senior outfield players to their bench. In the early rounds of the Champions League qualifying, they had to make do with just 2. And this is what Carla Ward said. I didn't actually know she was Ireland manager now. I missed that. She goes, I think Man United have let the women's team down this year. There's an opportunity to bring more bodies in. They're in the Champions League. They're playing across all competitions. That's such a small bench. It's a thin bench. A touch of bad luck, and then they also mentioned the injuries. And it looks as though 10 senior players have already spent time on the sidelines, as they're saying. And let's not forget, Leah Galton is one of the main injuries right now, and so is Millie Turner. 2 senior figureheads at the club who've been there through thick and thin. Millie Turner, one of the most underrated defenders, I would say, for Man United. I'm surprised she doesn't get more England call-ups, if you ask me. But also, Leah Galton, especially in the earlier years of Man United's very short history of the women's team, she has been brilliantly in terms of goal contributions and scoring goals herself. So I think they certainly miss Leah Galton. There's no doubt about that. So not having her or Millie Turner really does take a bit of a kicking for them so far. So yeah, some problems there. And when we actually look at the team use, there it is. It's there in black and white on one football. Millie Turner going to miss it because of her knee problem, and also Leah Galton will also be out. But they do say Chelsea also have got quite a long injury list. They're saying that Aspin and Buchanan are both out as well with knee injuries. Lucy Bronze, I mean, we don't expect Lucy Bronze to come back straight away after that Women's Euros, especially when she told everyone she was injured at the end of the tournament. She kept that quiet, didn't she? And Ramirez are all out because of calf and thigh injuries. But yeah, there's quite an absentees for both teams. But, Chelsea have at least 30. I've got 30 players in total in the squad. When I look at United, they've got 25. So already United have lost, 9 or 10 players. And we're literally about to embark on the first month of this league season. It is a really scary time for Marc Skinner. Like to go up against Chelsea as well, where they're going to be expecting a lot of work, a lot of running. Basically, they're going to probably be out of breath at times against the best team, one of the best teams in Europe tomorrow night. They're going to really hope that, Skinner's going to certainly be hoping there's no more injuries. But again, he might just shrug his shoulders and look upstairs to the board and go, wouldn't have happened if you got me a few more players. But this is where we are. So it looks as though the predicted lineup for both teams is as follows. Talise Johnson goal, of course, for United. Rolfo Janssen and Lee Tessier with Riviere as your defence. It looks as though in midfield you'll have Maya Zara, Zigiotti, Olme, Mallard, of course, who's been really impressive so far. Toon, Park, and Turlin. I mean, on paper, starting lineup, fantastic. But it's the depth, isn't it? The bench is where it could kill them late on in the second half. They could get tired. Chelsea, of course, Hannah Hampton. Great summer for her. She had a great week last week, winning the women's goalkeeper of the year from the Ballon d'Or. Bjorn, Bright, Berman, and Baltimore in defence. Cuthbert, absolute brilliant player she's been for Chelsea over the last few years. Kira Walsh, Carpenter, Captain, Hamano, and Beaver Jones. And Beaver Jones, keep an eye out for her. She's just on good form, just like Mallard. She's got 4 goals in 4 games as well. And they're already talking about it in the media. She could get an England call-up. Could she be England's new number 9 for Serena Wiegmann or for our European champions, well, she deserves a call up. There's no doubt about that. But anyway, if you have reached out to us, do so. It would be great to hear from you. But do let us know on the live chat page. Who do you think's going to win tomorrow? As I said, because United are at home, they've got to go for it. I think if this was at Stamford Bridge or Meadow Park, is it Meadow Park? No, it's not. It's Kings Meadow. I get mixed up with that one and the Arsenal ground that they use at Boreham Wood. But I do really think that if Marc Skinner can, I think if they could get a draw, it's not the worst thing. I think they'll still be gutted because it's at home. But I think if they can avoid defeat and stay in touch and grasp of Chelsea after this weekend's football, I think they'll be happy with that. But, you know, for United, I feel as though they still need to prove that they can beat the teams around them. We don't see that consistently yet. Again, Marc Skinner's had to build this team. And because of him, whether people like him or not, I know he's a controversial figure. But he has got United at the best position ever. You know, they've won an FA Cup under him. They've been in 3 FA Cup finals in a row. Won one of them, lost 2 of them, sadly. But they've been competing for trophies. Compared to the men's team, it's better than the men's team right now. But when you also look at the fact that in the Champions League, they're now qualified in the main league phase for it, what a brilliant opportunity. And I don't know what sort of money comes into the club just for getting into the league phase, but it can't be that bad. It must help them a little bit. So there's a lot of benefits coming to United, but there's just that missing touch in the Women's Super League for them to really be a contender. And I don't really think they've been a proper contender yet. This season feels like it could be. And I am surprised with the fact that they didn't make much replacements or make many signings from the summer, which looked like it was well needed, as we've already discussed quite a lot on this show. But I'm intrigued to see how Chelsea get on tomorrow, because Chelsea, how do you beat Chelsea? Nobody knows. The only ones that know are the players themselves, probably, because Chelsea in the Women's Super Leagues, their form at the moment is really scary. They haven't lost a game in the WSL since May 2024 last year. That was when Emma Hayes was still manager. So they haven't lost under Sonia in the Women's Super League. That's just incredible stats, incredible form. So how do United beat them tomorrow? I'd love to hear from you if any of you have any ideas as to what you think. And also remember, you can vote on our live chat page on who you think's going to win. Will it be a United win? Will Chelsea get the win as usual, or will it be a draw? I was actually looking at this before, which is interesting. If I just get switch page. So this is a list off, looks like it's off Soccer Donna, and it's a list of who's won, well, basically the history of all the club between the two clubs. Man United have only won once. They've never beaten Chelsea in the WSL, only in the FA Cup, which was April last year. And I remember that because I was there, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. When they actually won that, it was just unbelievable. I'm just trying to remember who the goal scorers were. Will it say here if I don't think it does. Oh, no, it might do. Yeah, Rachel Williams, that was it. Yeah, Lucia Garcia. Lucia Garcia scored on the first minute. I remember that. And everyone, even Helen, if you're watching, who works with the Man United Women's Club, I remember even looking up at her, and she was just shocked when it was 1-0. That was just at 1-0. And then when it was 2-0 just before half-time, I think it was, we were thinking, like, okay, there must be a second half where Chelsea come back into this. They do get a goal back, but they couldn't find that second goal, and that was the win. That was the win that got United the cup, because it was a semi-final. They had Tottenham in the final, and no offense to Tottenham, but United were expected to always win that, and they did. Pressure, of course, always grows on the team that are favourites to get the job done, but they did it. And I remember being there that day because it was a very hot day in May at Wembley, and I literally got off from a flight from Denmark that morning on a Sunday morning in London. And I just remember getting to the stadium, and I started to fall asleep near half time because I had no sleep, and it was so warm. But it was so good to just witness United win an FA Cup for the first time, for the women's team, that is. So absolutely terrific. But yes, that was the only time United had beaten Chelsea. That was at home, but that's it. Chelsea in every other game have beaten them. And it looks like, looking at all those games, they've never had a draw. Never had a draw. No. Oh, no. Apparently they have. So they've had 11 matches, 1 draw, which was at home. It looks like at home to Man United. That's what it's saying. Yeah, it looks like it. So, yeah, that's pretty bad. That's in the Women's Super League and Women's League Cup. They've played Man United have lost all of them. And the FA Cup, they've lost. I mean, let's not forget as well, I nearly forgot, and as a United fan, I would forget, the Women's FA Cup final earlier this year was between Man United and Chelsea beat them quite comfortably, which helped Chelsea get the treble. They call it the treble, but that doesn't include the European Cup. They won the League Cup as well as the Women's Super League and the FA Cup, as mentioned. So, yeah, it's really against Man United to do it tomorrow night. But you got to break boundaries and you got to set up a new statement. And I think if United can have any chance of being there throughout this season to compete for the Women's Super League, they have to win tomorrow night. It doesn't, no matter what it takes. It could be ugly, it could be pretty. Marc Skinner knows a win is a win in football. And I really do like to think United could throw everything at Chelsea tomorrow night. If you're in the UK and you're wondering what it's going to be on, it's going to be on BBC Three, I believe, tomorrow night. So you can't really miss it. It should be a good game. But I'm going to go out there and say it's going to be a 1-1 draw. That's my prediction. 1-1 draw. Mallard's going to score. But I have a feeling United will go up ahead first. And I reckon Talise Joyce will have a great game in there. But then sadly, sometime at the end, the players will get tired. And Chelsea will find their equaliser. And let's not forget, they don't have Lauren James either. She's also injured. So I do think Lauren James at Lee Sports Village in a Chelsea shirt, as history has told us, is always not a good combination for United fans because she's very determined, I think, to score against United because of the banter and maybe even the boos that she receives from the United fans. I think that just makes gives her a good more reason to score against her old club. But yes, I've got a feeling it's going to be a draw tomorrow night. But anyway, let us know in the comments below who you think's going to win. What can Man United do to beat Chelsea? How can anyone beat Chelsea? Can Chelsea lose their first game since May 2024? It's looking very unlikely, but let us know. And also, if you enjoyed this stream, do give us a like and subscribe to Let's Talk Sport. Originally, we were going to do a watch-along for this game tomorrow night, but I don't think any of us are free for it, sadly. But do keep an eye out for our future women's football watch-alongs. We love to do women's football when we can. So, yeah. And if you subscribe to us, you'll get more women's football content for sure. But I think that's it. So thanks for watching, and good night.